Hello everybody and welcome to the Reds Army. So Sir Jim Ratcliffe just did an interview with Gary Neville, and this interview is actually receiving mixed reviews from people around the world. There are those who are praising him for speaking up, and there are those who are actually saying that the interview was shallow and difficult questions were not asked, questions that Manchester United fans want answers. So in this video we are going to break down the interview, and we are going to look at the key issues that Sir Jim Ratcliffe talked about and how they are going to affect Manchester United. We are going to break down the interview, not the entire interview, just the key points. We're going to go through them and see how they are going to affect Manchester United in the long run, and some of the ideas that he actually aired in the interview. We are going to see whether they are viable or they're just pipeline dreams. Okay, if you're new here, kindly take a second to subscribe. We appreciate every effort. Join the family, help us grow the community. We are trying to build a community where Manchester United fans like you and I can come together and talk about Man United. It only takes a second, and make sure you hit the notification bell so that you are alerted every time we post a video. So let's get down to it. So this interview was long overdue. Let's be honest, let's get it out of the way. It was long overdue. They have taken their sweet time before they can come and address some problems that we have been asking questions about. So Sir Jim Ratcliffe made some serious comments in this interview. Okay, there are people who are saying that some tough questions were not asked, like he was spared. But personally, I think the interview was fair because he addressed some concerns that I had about Manchester United, and he helped to clarify some issues that I have been complaining about in my other videos, mostly about money and why people are being fired at Manchester United. So let's look at the first issue. So Sir Jim Ratcliffe bought the club for 1.3 billion. He bought 28.94% shares of the club. He paid 1.3 billion pounds or billion pounds for these shares, and he decided to take over the football operation at Manchester United. Now, things have not been so glorious at Manchester United since we are sitting 14th in the Premier League. We are out of the FA Cup, out of the Carabao Cup, and we are definitely out of any European competition spots, meaning if we are out of the Europa League, we are never going to play Champions League next season or any other European competition next season. So it will only be domestic competition. So Sir Jim Ratcliffe made some statements, and some of them caught my attention. And I would give him credit. He accepted the mistakes that they made, backing up Eric Ten Hag and also firing him later on after they have spent over 200 million to bring in players that were going to fit into Ten Hag's playing style, only to sack the manager a few months later, also hiring Dan Ashworth and firing him 5 months later, which has cost Manchester United around 20 million pounds in compensation to these two groups. Now, he said, and he accepted that it's evident that they made a mistake. They made a mistake, and they are owning up to the mistake. And we have been complaining about this, that they wasted 20 million pounds firing Ten Hag and his team together with Dan Ashworth, and they are now trying to fire 450 people from the club to try and save money. But he clarified it, and he said that it was a mistake. It was a mistake on their part because first of all, they could not judge Ten Hag based on his past performances under a different regime. It makes perfect sense for me right now because they were giving Ten Hag a second chance, benefit of the doubt. But a few months into the season, they realized that he is not the manager to take us to the next level. So about Dan Ashworth, they realized that the chemistry wasn't right between him and the board and Manchester United, so they had to let him go. Now, what you can learn from this is that they are learning their mistakes. They are learning the mistakes because, to be honest with you, we have all made mistakes. I'm not trying to defend INEOS, but I'm trying to see and trying to analyze the interview and see things from his point of view. Okay, now he clarified and said that they made a mistake, and this to me means a lot. When somebody makes a mistake and they own up to the mistake, it means a lot to me because it shows that you have actually you are learning from your mistakes, and it's evident that next time you may not be able, or you will not repeat the same mistakes. Okay, so he got that out of the way, and I'm pretty sure many people actually got the clarity, and actually they accepted the situation, because we were angry that why would you back up a manager only to fire him a few months later. But according to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, they only backed the manager since they were giving him the benefit of the doubt, and they could not judge him based on the performances from the previous regime. So and then there's something else he talked about. He talked about the players who we are still paying for. We're still paying for Sancho. We're still paying for Casemiro. These are the players who are actually not performing for Manchester United right now. Now, I was so happy when he mentioned overpaid players. He said some players are being overpaid, and this is something I've been struggling with. That if you look at some players like Lindelof, for example, he's being overpaid, although he's trying to earn his money, but he hasn't been contributing too much during the season. I mean, he spent most of his time on the bench, and he is one of the players who are being overpaid. Casemiro is another player. He's being overpaid. 300,000 a week. That's a lot of money for a player who is actually beyond his prime. Okay, he's beyond his prime. Now, he also said that if you look at somebody like Sancho is not playing for Manchester United right now. He's at Chelsea, and we are paying half the wage. We are paying half of his wage, and we are still paying Borussia Dortmund for the transfer fee. It said that we are paying 13. I think this season, I think we are paying I don't know, it's 37 or 13 million. I can't remember, something like that. I have to confirm. I don't want to throw around figures just for the sake of throwing around figures. So he also complimented Amorim. This is somebody who seems to admire Amorim. He said that Amorim is actually working miracles and wonders at Manchester United right now. And honestly, I agree with this, because Amorim, before he came to Man United, he was working at Porto. He was working at Sporting, sorry, not Porto, Sporting. And this is a guy who actually had to change mid-season. He had to move from Sporting to Manchester United mid-season. He wasn't given enough time to think about it. It was like it's now or never. So he had to make that decision like this, and he came to Manchester United. Now, when he came to Man United, remember, we were not a top club before he came to Man United. We were not a top club. We were underperforming, and that's why we fired Erik ten Hag. We fired Erik ten Hag because of results, poor results. Now, this is a manager, we brought him in the middle of the season to take over a club and a football team that's actually failing. Now, he has done his best, although it's still questionable. But according to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Amorim is working miracles at Manchester United. He's doing much better than he should be doing, especially given that he has around 11 players at his disposal. This is true, because if you looked at Manchester United bench when we were playing Arsenal, you would see that most of our players there, they were academy players, and some of them are fringe players who can actually not be counted on to change any game. Okay, now most of our players are out, either suspended or injured. Remember, we let go of 3 players in January, and we only brought 1 player who is actually suspended. He's not contributing at the moment. Now, he also touched on Rashford's issue. He said that Marcus Rashford is an excellent player. He is an excellent player, and he is happy for him at Aston Villa. And only that, he wishes that Marcus Rashford was performing for Manchester United the way he's performing for Aston Villa. Something was happening at Manchester United which stopped him from being the Marcus Rashford that he can be. So there's another issue which I'm pretty sure you caught on. He said that if we sell Marcus Rashford, which means they are considering selling Marcus Rashford permanently, which I think it's a good thing, despite what many people might think at Manchester United, because at Man United, Marcus Rashford isn't performing. So that means the environment isn't suitable for him. It's only best if he leaves. And if he leaves and we sell him for a good amount, then we can try and buy somebody who will fit into our system, because Rashford isn't fitting into Amorim's system. It will only be a waste of time if he comes back to Man United, because we will go back to square one again, where his performances will dip, and then we'll have another problem. Okay, so I think it's high time we sold Marcus Rashford to either Aston Villa or to another interesting club that will actually submit a good bid for the player. So he also talked about Garnacho and Mainu, and he said that they are not going to sell Garnacho and Mainu just for the sake of raising money. This actually is so impressive. It impressed me so much to a point, because I was saying, I made another video where I said that we should not be selling young players right now. We have a bunch of players at Man United who we should be selling first before we think about selling the likes of Garnacho and Mainu. And I am so happy to hear that Sir Jim Ratcliffe thinks the same, because we need players like Mainu and Garnacho to build a team around. That's what we need. So he also talked about investing in the club. He said that Manchester United is at a risk of going bankrupt by December. By the end of this year, it's possible that we could end up bankrupt by the end of the year. Now, personally, I blame the Glazers for this. Because before Manchester United got into this trouble, because it's very clear, he reiterated and said that if you spend more than you are earning, then you're digging yourself a grave. And he said that Manchester United has been spending more than they have been earning for the last 7 years. So INEOS just came into the picture the other year. So this means this problem started way back when the Glazers were in charge. So these are the people to blame. In short, he's telling us that I am not to blame. I'm just trying to clean up the mess that I found, that I inherited. He also said that he inherited players who actually are performing poorly. They're not really good, and they are overpaid. So he's trying to shift the blame in a smart way to tell you that, hey, I got this mess here. I'm just trying to clean up the mess, trying to make everything make sense. Okay? The people who are here, they're the ones who are responsible for this mess. I'm trying to clean it up. Now, about the stadium, I was waiting for this, and he said that there are announcements there are reports that are going to be announced, and today on Tuesday, about the stadium. He said that they are planning to build a state-of-the-art. So personally, this doesn't sit very well with me. You know why? Because Old Trafford has a history behind it. I mean, look at what happens to clubs when they change and they build new stadiums. They go through a series of transitions. Arsenal had to wait over 10 years to become the Arsenal they are today. They had to wait all that time. Tottenham have never actually recovered, have never actually regained their previous form. But I'm just saying, but if we go for a new stadium, I think we should build one. We should mostly expand on Old Trafford so that it doesn't lose the history and the magnitude that it has. I mean, this is the theatre of dreams. This is where history has been made. This is where Manchester United history has been made. So it's only fair. Personally, I think all that money, the 2 billion that they are talking about to build a new stadium, we could invest some of it, let's say 1.5 billion, to expand and renovate Old Trafford, to modernize it, maybe increase the seating capacity and even the standing capacity, and the other $500 million we try and invest in players. Okay, we try and invest in players, but at the end of the day, those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think Man United needs a new stadium, or should we be renovating Old Trafford? Comment in this comment section. So, something else that caught my attention was how Sir Jim Ratcliffe explained the current issues that are going on at Manchester United. He said that clubs and companies, every club and every company in England has some sort of debt. He said that if Manchester United at the moment can be able to turn and become profitable, then servicing the loan will be easier for them. it will be easier for the club. But right now, we are operating at a very dangerous level where our money is not even able to run, the revenue we generate is not even able to run the club, let alone pay off the debt. So he asked, do you want us to use the money on the staff, or do you want us to use the money to invest in players? And he said the most logical thing to do is to invest in players, and then these players can actually go on and perform, which improves the club's image, and which attracts more companies, and which improves the club's overall revenue generation. Okay, now the sponsors, I was looking for that name, sponsors. So if we can perform well, it means we can compete in the Premier League, compete in the Champions League, win trophies, which will also attract sponsors and drive and generate more revenue. I hope I'm clear. I'm sorry, English is my second language, so sometimes forgive me if I stammer, but that really made sense to me, because I have been talking about this. Instead of focusing on the business side of the company or the club, why don't we focus on the sporting area, where we focus on the players and the performances, so that they can try and bring or take Manchester United back to the glory days, where we attract sponsors and we start generating more revenue, and then now they can start paying off the debt. It made sense to me. It made a lot of sense to me. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you agree with that, or do you think we should be prioritizing something else? Okay, now if you look at the current Manchester United players, the current players that we have Rasmus Højlund. Højlund, we bought him for around 70 million pounds, okay, or 70 million euros, okay. Now, this guy was termed to be similar to Holland from Manchester City, but to be honest with you, he has proven to be nothing but Holland. Or maybe he is, but he's not fit for Manchester United. He's not the type of a player we need at Manchester United. So I think he really is struggling. He's struggling, and you can see it in his face. He's struggling. He has no confidence. He has no determination. He's just lost. This is a player that we should be selling. Rasmus Højlund, we should sell him. We should sell Casemiro. We should sell, who else should we sell? Sancho and Rashford. I will repeat this: if we sold these 4 players in summer, we can raise enough money to bring in at least 4 or 5 more players who can fit into Amorim's system. Now, Sir Jim Ratcliffe said that he's planning to win the Premier League trophy within 3 years, by 2028, and it coincides with the 150th anniversary of Manchester United. Now, it's possible, but it's not an easy thing to do. Humor me, let me explain. First, you cannot win a trophy, especially where we are right now. We need to let go, or we need to sell nearly half of the players that we have. So if we can do this as quickly as possible, if we can sell them and bring in players as quickly as possible, then we can be able now to talk about winning a trophy in 3 years time. But if we move at a pace that we usually move in the transfer market, then I can guarantee you it's gonna take more than 3 years to win the trophy, let alone compete for the trophy. Okay, now we have a very crucial game this Thursday against Real Sociedad. Now this is the game that decides if we are going to have a moderately successful season or not, because if we are eliminated from Europa League, it means our chances of playing in any European competition next season are done. But if we go ahead and eliminate Real Sociedad, then we can gamble in the remaining games and see how far we can go. You never know, maybe we might get to the finals. Remember what happened to Chelsea when they won their first Champions League trophy? They were shit in the Premier League, and yet they went ahead and won the Champions League.